That was a little strange. Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome back to another recommendation list. Yes, where I recommend 5 or more films that you will like if you like a certain topic or genre or whatever the hell I put on the title. In which case, that is 5 cosmic horror films for all of you freaks, weirdos, and people who just like slimy tentacles. Yes. I'm with you. I like those. They're fun. In all seriousness, this is a genre that I really do admire a lot. When it comes to a lot of my own horror writing and things like this, there are a lot of elements that I pull from the cosmic horror genre just because there is so much dread there for me in the idea of having these, whether it's an alien, a god, some kind of creature, entity, person, who just has this untapped, uncappable amount of horrific power or essence that really just leaves our characters fighting against a battle that is pretty unwinnable, and seeing how they're going to get out of it. I mean, I just love so many of these movies on this list and so many more in this subgenre. And yes, I know there are going to be a few people who are going to be detractors on this who probably don't like some of my picks or think that I'm not including enough Lovecraft. All I have to say to that is that this is my recommendation list. If you want to make one, feel free to tag me in it. I'll totally watch it and give you my response. Other than that, guys, if you are new to the channel here, if you're just discovering us, please hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate all the love and support that you guys have been giving the channel recently. And yeah, why don't we hop into 5 cosmic horror films right now? Kicking things off with number 5, we have The Ritual from 2017. Yes, this is a movie that I hated the first time that I saw it, but it is odd because it never left my brain. This is a movie that I had to constantly go back and revisit and just kind of absorb more and more each time that I sat down with it. And now when I watch it, I have no idea why I hated it so much. I mean, I kind of get the idea. It bills itself, especially on Netflix, as being very creature feature heavy, and that's just not what this movie is. There's so much more horror going on behind the scenes here. And I really think that this is one of David Bruckner's finest. Yes, you guys will know him from The Night House, another great film, and of course the most recent remake of Hellraiser that you can watch on Hulu. I love his work. There was a time when the writers with him and the writers of Hellraiser were going to do a Halloween film, and it has a really, really crazy, great story that I absolutely love. But if we're talking about some of my favorite aspects that Bruckner is able to bring to this film specifically, this is one of the scariest films that takes place in the woods, in my opinion. I love how Bruckner is able to build so much tension when certain characters are just walking. And, they see some warning signs, they see things as they progress through the forest that are definitely not like normal or where they're supposed to be at all. But the thing that really gets me is when our main character kind of walks off and he's going to look for help, and there is one shot, it's daytime, and he looks into the forest and you have no idea what he sees, but it scares the piss out of him and he starts running. And I just always remember that shot sticking out to me. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with this film, of course, let me give you a quick little rundown of what the story is according to IMDb. A group of friends reunite after a long time to plan a vacation. They finally decide to take a hiking trip to Sweden. When one of them is unexpectedly injured, they have no choice but to cut through a forest in order to arrive at a lodge a couple of hours sooner. During a raging rainstorm, they spent the night in a spooky abandoned house. What awaits them are things they never expected out of this supposed bonding trip. As always, I do my best to kind of find a description that's going to keep things pretty vague for you, but just give you a small taste of what you can expect. I really love The Ritual. Again, this is one that grew on me, so maybe after your first viewing, if you're not fully on board with it, let it sit with you. Kind of marinate with this one, because I think there is a lot of really great scares set up in this, but also I love the lore. I love how this kind of interworks the way we have like Norse mythology and cosmic horror kind of meeting in the middle. And I think that it's really smart and really clever, and honestly, I don't know many other films that kind of bring that marriage together so successfully. So definitely check out The Ritual on Netflix if you have some time. And Netflix, please, for the love of God, put this movie out on 4K. Stop gatekeeping all of your movies. You only have a select few that I actually like, that I really want, and this is one of them. Coming in at number 4, we have 2013's Under the Skin. Yes, this is a film from Jonathan Glazer. This is actually his second film. And those of you who don't know who he is off the top of your head, you'll probably know his film from just last year, which was pretty big, which was The Zone of Interest. This guy is a very polarizing filmmaker. It's kind of like he makes movies that you love or you hate. And, you know, those tend to be some of the best people when it comes to tackling cosmic horror. They're not afraid to kind of push the boundaries and make you kind of sit in these uncomfortable situations. And by God, Under the Skin does that very well. There are many situations in this just dealing with the subject matter and just kind of what the story itself is trying to say that will make some viewers exceedingly uncomfortable. Now, one of the things that I do want to warn you is that this is not a traditional film, if I haven't made that clear enough already. This is very much an exploration piece in a way. There's a character here played by Scarlett Johansson. We only know her as the female, and I won't give away what's going on with her, but I do have to say that you are definitely taking a journey with her, and it's very brutal at times. It's very dark, but also it has some very genuinely beautiful moments and very I mean, just the guy knows how to shoot a camera. Jonathan Glazer, I'll give him that, knows what he's doing when it comes to these night shots, and some of them during the day, especially towards the end of this film. Now, this is a movie that I'm going to say you have to commit yourself to, because by the end of it, you're going to have questions, you're going to want to do some research, but it's a film that I really love going back and thinking about and really kind of diving into and hearing what everybody's thoughts and opinions are as it has sat with us over the last few years. And yeah, I think that this is one that you absolutely, if you love cosmic horror, if you love movies that make you uncomfortable but actually have a message to them, I would highly recommend checking out Under the Skin. Now, let's get into what IMDb says is the description of this film. A mysterious young woman seduces lonely men in the evening hours in Scotland. However, events led her to begin a process of self-discovery. Like I said, not getting much from that, but just a taste of kind of what they're billing the film as. And again, I'm not going to sit here and dive into every single piece of this. Maybe someday I'll go down the road and really get into the minute details of it, because there are some very harrowing scenes in this that will, again, make you uncomfortable, but also once you kind of uncover what the message of the movie is, they're very poignant. They're very much not trying to shy away from what they're saying. And yeah, I think that for the film that it is, I think I gotta give mad applause to Scarlett Johansson for really bearing it all in a lot of this film. You know, this is not something you can really sit down and watch with the kids by any means, and this is one that's going to keep you thinking. And again, just like The Ritual, you're gonna have to revisit. And yeah, I think these cosmic horror elements, although subtle for, I'd probably say about 97% of the film, are extremely well done and leave you sitting there going, wow, this is something else. As I stated in my intro there, cosmic horror and body horror, they just work so well together. They go together like peas and carrots, as our boy Forrest Gump would say. And that comes into my number 3 pick with The Void from 2016. Yes, this one, not so much of a thinker, more of a kind of a shocker and kind of like a, oh my god, that is disgusting and I love it kind of movie. Yeah, lots of tentacles in this, lots of slime, lots of gore, and it's very, very 80s influenced. And I mean, clearly, I think the biggest influence you can see on this film is The Thing from John Carpenter. This is a movie that, in all ways, methods, things should not work as well as it does, but I think it's because you have this like really crack team of directors behind this, with Jeremy Gillespie and Steven Kostanski behind the camera on this one, as well as the effects. They really are putting their all on screen here, and this is a movie that I just adore recommending to people, especially those who like body horror and cosmic horror, because it really like hits those lines perfectly. I think that this is one of the best modern cosmic horror films out there right now. I think that this is really going to hit on a lot of those elements that you're looking for when it comes to good creature effects, getting your brain a little bit more thinking. I know I kind of undersold it, but it's not as intense as like The Ritual or as Under the Skin. This one, it does pose some questions to you, but more or less you're there for the journey and just the way that they kind of make the most with what they have, because this is a very low budget film. They did not have a lot of money going around, and the fact that they were able to accomplish what they were able to do in this movie, like again, effects wise, look wise, it's so unbelievably impressive. And yeah, I absolutely adore this movie. I can't recommend this one enough. And for those of you who of course want a small descriptor for it, after delivering a patient to an understaffed hospital, a police officer experiences strange and violent occurrences, seemingly linked to a group of mysterious hooded figures. Another thing that I absolutely adore in this movie is the score. I think that this does really pull from its 80s influence, but this is one of those scores that, like, if I'm playing like a survival horror game involving some Lovecraftian creatures of some kind, I want this thing blaring in the background as I'm going through and just icing these monsters left and right. I think that, again, this is one that you absolutely need to check out if you have not seen it and you're a fan of cosmic horror. It is an all-timer in my book. So you guys remember 2020 and what a mess of a year that was for not only us, but movies and movie theaters? Yeah, this is one of those casualty films from that, and I'm talking about my number 2 pick with 2020's The Empty Man. Yeah, this is a movie that, again, fell completely under everybody's radar. I have to give mad props to Chris Stuckman for pointing this out, and I know he did that for a lot of folks, because I freaking love this movie. Granted, this did have a graphic novel that this was adapted from before the film, but this is not like a super low budget movie. Now, it's not the highest budget thing in the world, but it is something that they put a little bit of money and time into, and the fact that they just buried it really just tells me that this is not a movie that Fox knew what to do with. They seem to be really confident about it and then just shuffled it off for some reason. And it's a shame, because I think that this thing is really underrated, and I think a lot of people now are starting to kind of discover it and pick up on it. I know there's a huge push to get this picked up by like a boutique label to kind of get this thing a physical release, which I absolutely would love, of course, but I think this is one of those films that if we're talking brain teasers, this is probably the biggest one on this list. I think that you do get what's going on by the time you finish this the first time, but I think that this is one that, again, you go back to and you get more out of. And it's another piece of why I love the cosmic horror subgenre, because, again, it's got the scares, it's got the intrigue. This one, a little bit more of a mystery to it as well. It's not so upfront and in your face like the other ones are. You are kind of following our main character, James, as he's on like this path searching for, I won't say what, but it is very, very interesting. And this has one of the best intros ever. And I'm dead ass when I say that, because this, a lot like Friday the 13th, 2009, has like a 15-minute intro, I think. Could be a little less than that, but it's long, and it's almost a short film in and of itself, but it sets the stage so well, and I have to give mad props to David Pryor for having the guts to put that into a studio film, because, that's something I could see an independent distributor, letting slide, but the fact that Fox let him do that, and the fact that he actually got to put it in the movie was super cool, because I think that it sets the stage so wonderfully, and if you just watch it on its own, it's a creepy little tale. I love so much about this movie, and I'm afraid that if I start talking more about it, I'm going to give away more. So I'll just give you the quick description just to let you know a little bit of what this movie is going for. On the trail of a missing girl, an ex-cop comes across a secretive group attempting to summon a terrifying supernatural entity. And yeah, that about hits it on the head there for you without giving away all of the little tricks and twists. And I think that this is one of those films that sadly should have been in theaters. It never got that opportunity. Some people can say it was the pandemic. I don't know. I feel like Fox, they wouldn't have known where to put this movie. And to give them a little bit of credit, just the tiniest minute little bit there, it is a tough one. This is one that is a commitment. It is also 2 hours and 17 minutes, so you are committing to this movie. But I'm telling you, if you love cosmic horror, if you love mysteries, if you love intrigue, and you want to kind of unravel what's going on in this film and try to piece it together, if that excites you, then this is absolutely one that you need to commit to, check out, and report back. Let me know what you think. That brings us to my number one pick and recommendation for you on this list. And yeah, it's nothing unheard of. It's nothing that you're going to be like, oh, wow, what a shocker. It's 1982's The Thing. Yes, John Carpenter's The Thing, if you don't know, is my favorite film of all time. It's my favorite horror film of all time. This movie is so well put together. I mean, just from a filmmaking standpoint, but also from an entertainment standpoint, this is one of the gutsiest, metaphorically, and yes, of course, physically, films out there. I want to say that we just don't get movies like this very often. Now, The Void and The Empty Man and a couple others on this list have definitely tapped into some of that, but they never get that concoction exactly correct like John Carpenter was able to. It's a bottle film to me. I mean, a lot of people will say that his best films come down to like Halloween, Escape from New York, but for me it's The Thing. And I think that everything from the cast to the music to the sets, it's all unmatched in my book. And I'm completely biased when I say this because, again, this is my favorite film, but I think that it all just works. This is a film that I've adored studying over the many years since I've seen it. I remember watching this for the first time as a kid. It was on the Fox Movie Network. My dad was like, "You're gonna love this." He falls asleep on the couch. It's the middle of the night, and I am just absorbed by it. And it's not till later on when I got a little bit older and was able to kind of dive into this more, and I started learning about the blood test scene and the fact that it's like, wow, The Thing was multiple people, and it was this, it was way more cognitive than I initially thought. Growing up, you think it's just this great monster movie, but there's so much more to it. And I think that is just an element that many people need to kind of revisit if you're unaware, because there is so much just intrigue and mystery underneath this film. It's not all just blood, guts, and monsters. Yeah, shocker. There's a lot of thinking going on here. And the creature itself, the Thing, the fact that it's never fully defined and we don't know exactly what this thing is, that is so scary to me. That is so terrifying. The littlest bit of contact can have you be assimilated. I mean, it is, in my opinion, the like greatest threat to humanity ever put on film. I know there's xenomorph fans out there. I know there's probably 100 other creatures and killers you could put on this, but for me, it is The Thing. And to keep it short and simple, for those of you who have not seen this, bad, what are you doing? Go watch this movie. Turn this fucking video off right now and go watch The Thing. A research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims. One piece of this that I can give to you guys who are, very familiar with The Thing is go watch the making of. It's on the 4K Blu-ray. It's on YouTube still as well. But there is about an hour's worth of content there that goes into so much detail of this production. The trials, the tribulations, all the stuff that Rob Bottin was able to do with these groundbreaking effects that are just absolutely ageless. And if there's any word that I would put on The Thing is that this is an ageless movie. You can put this on at any time, and I have a hard time, seeing people not getting sucked in and involved in this. I think that this is a 5-star picture. This is one of those things that I will always, to my grave, go there and say that this is one of, if not the greatest horror film of all time. I think that there's nothing scarier than our creature, and I really think that this is just an A1 film. And if there's anything that I, as an up-and-coming horror filmmaker, want to try to capture or want to throw my hat in the ring on, it's a cosmic horror film like this. It's something that gives you intrigue, that gives you scares, that gives you just the thought, the cognitive, like, my God, I need to really unpiece this to save not only my own life, but potentially the world as we know it. And I think that this, the implication that this movie sets upon its cast and how they all handle it, it's just one of the best. It's an all-timer. So yes, I know that wasn't the most exciting pick, but it's the honest pick. So there you have it, folks. That is 5 cosmic horror films that I recommend you check out right now. Rush out and see them, or at least when you get in the mood to kind of fear the unknown and fear what could be beyond our universe, I highly recommend putting one of these films on, if not all of them. I really had a lot of fun with this one. This was a really cool list for me to put together. Again, I wanted to kind of have a mix in there of not just the easy ones. I know that there's a lot of Lovecraft that I left off this list, but I think that a lot of these are Lovecraft inspired. Obviously, I want to put things like From Beyond and Reanimator on there. I think that there's absolutely way more cosmic horror that I could discuss, and I could do a follow-up on. So if you really like this video, make sure that you like it, you share it, we get this thing up there, leave a comment, let me know what you would put on this list, and I'll do a follow-up at some point down the road, because like I said, this is a subgenre that means a lot to me, and I am absolutely looking forward to discussing more cosmic horror. But thank you guys so much for watching. We do have a lot more lists being created, as well as other content on this great channel. We have some independent horror films coming down the pipeline for the next couple weeks, because we're going to be at Fantasia. So if you want to know what to look out for the rest of the year or into 2025, follow us on here and get the sense for what to look out for and what to avoid. Other than that, we have a lot of cool stuff coming up in the month of August. I will be doing the video where I break down all of the films to look forward to horror-wise, and a lot more stuff to come. So that's going to wrap it up here for me. I thank you again for watching, and that's about it. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell, and remember, stay scared.
Do the horror shit, gonna do it live, 'cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.